Hey, everybody. I'm really excited about the band that I have for you today. I'm excited, because they're a really young band. They're really up and coming. And I really want to get their perspective on their approach to music. And I got to throw a quick kudos out to my cousin, Jerry Brustek, for introducing me to you guys. And I want to welcome Jawbone to the Long Island Sound podcast. Welcome, guys. Good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. So first question, this is like thrown out to everybody. Who's the leader of the band?
I'll say JP, but mostly like he has a little bit more of a help. He helps us like get a lot of gigs. Basically at 24% to the three of us, and then he
Okay.
gets the extra 3%.
All right. All right. Excellent. You know what's great is the fact that you're approaching it collaboratively as a group to get this together. So I'm going to throw a question out to JP. JP, how did you form Jawbone as a group, and when did it actually start?
The truth is, Jawbone wasn't really like a thing that I formed. We all went to the same music school, and the school got us together. But there's kind of an exception to that with John. John was actually in my science class at school, and I met him, and I was like, "Do you play guitar?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was gonna say he's probably into so much like poppy music or our music genres wouldn't really collide, but he was actually into a lot of stuff that I was into and a lot of stuff that he was into I was thinking about getting into.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he kind of opened my horizons to a lot of more music, and it made me think, wow, I just got put into this band. This kid would be really good in it. And suddenly, I guess Jawbone was formed.
Hey, this is Jared, and it's not a coincidence that we're all J's. I mean, it is for John, but when we came as a band, Jacob actually came up with the idea of Jawbone because we were all J's. And when John joined, it was actually a coincidence that I was actually hoping for when JP told me there was going to be someone new coming into our band.
That's really neat. In fact, when I was going through your bio and your names, I'm like, this is like a litter of puppies, where they name them all with the same initials. So that's pretty cool. Hey, you want to tell me, John, what was the music school that you guys attended?
Baktara.
Okay.
I've been going there before. I've been in Java. I've been going there. They had a summer camp thing going on where for like a week, you and a few other kids jammed together, and then at the end of the week, you would for a performance. I used to go on for that. Then when I joined the band, and
So, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm really envious of the fact that you guys are starting so young. I mean, I started in my 20s playing guitar, and I got really frustrated, learned the famous, three chords, could play, a couple hundred songs possibly, but it was such a struggle for me to kind of comprehend it. And then YouTube came along and guitar tabs and later in life. What was your first experience with saying, hey, I want to play music, or, and what instrument do you play and where'd you pick it up?
So basically, since I was like really like 3 or 4, I got exposed to like drums and guitar and was trying it out.
Mhm.
When I lived in the Midwest of the US when I was younger, I got introduced to like another music school, and I did like the very young kid program there, and I started like trying out a bunch of the instruments.
Cool.
And then when I moved to where I am now, I started learning bass guitar because I was debating between that and drums. But I
Okay.
just really liked the guitar sound a little bit more. But so then I just started playing when I was around.
Nice. So you're part of the rhythm section with Jared. Jared, you're on drums, right? And
Yes, that's
we've got
correct.
John and JP on guitar. I assume, John, are you lead guitar, rhythm guitar, or do you guys kind of swap it back and forth?
I'd say kind of back and forth, but I think I'm usually considered the lead guitarist.
Gotcha. Okay. So you guys categorize yourself as a punk grunge band in the style of Green Day, I would say. I'm a big fan of what I would call the godfather of grunge, which is Neil Young. You might know who He is, and I love Pearl Jam. JP, what would you say are some of your influences? And then we'll go to each guy and tell me, what's your top influence when it comes to an artist and the music you play? Tell me what you got, JP.
Well, in all honesty, I feel like there's multiple aspects to that. And
Mhm.
more of like, I want to be like this guitarist, but I also want to be like this singer, you know?
Okay.
I feel like for me, when it comes to guitarist, someone who I've always looked up to has been either Ray Toro or Frank Iero from My Chemical Romance. And when it comes to like singer or sort of front person type of guy, I will look up to Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day.
Right, right. I just saw him play with Billie Eilish at the Fire Aid show, which was Thursday night in LA, and it was really kind of cool to see. How about you, John? What are your influences?
There are definitely quite a few that
Okay.
influenced my guitar playing. I'd say one of the main ones is probably Nirvana. I like the I like the simplicity it has, but the simplicity,
Yeah, so maybe I can help you with the air. So like the simplicity of maybe doing bar chords and hitting it that way and I can appreciate that, being a guitarist myself, not so good guitarist by the way.
yeah, like
Um,
simplicity of it, like I like it because like you could have songs that sound simple but still become hits, like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
right.
Very, very simple guitar in it. Another influence I have is Tool. You know Tool?
Now I don't. Tell me who Tool is.
Tool's a alternative metal band from the 90s.
Okay.
They had like a very dark sound, but the guitar was more complicated in it.
Mm.
And I don't know, when I started listening to Tool, that's when I kind of moved from very simple guitar power chords to, more, intricate, uh, guitar riffs with Tool.
It's always interesting to me when you see, and we'll talk about the songs that you guys are writing, the original songs, but I always look to how people evolve from woodshedding their craft, whatever that be, their craft being their vocals, the craft being their drums, guitar, bass, whatever, getting into those intricacies. And then when you start developing a song, I think the great artists are the ones who play to the song, which really kind of pull it together. So who do we miss out? Jared, what's your, or Jacob, who wants to talk first on your influences?
So, when I started to be a drummer, I started because my dad was a drummer as a kid, and
Okay.
I started playing percussion at school when I was younger. Then I thought I really liked it, and I was like, maybe I should try out the whole drum set because of how much I liked playing it at school. So, I've always listened to music, but I never really played along with it since
Okay.
I only played the concert snare drum. And when I started, my mom thought that I would be really good at being in a band.
Okay.
Since I didn't have great social skills as a kid, she tried to help me get into a band through the music school that I've been with for a while. And then I met Jawbone. Music wise, I didn't really have a specific genre that I really liked.
Right.
I listened to bands like One Direction and others like Maroon 5.
Mhm.
And when I met this band, I started to listen to the music that they liked, like Nirvana, Green Day, and I started to like it. So when I started listening to it more, I had the want to listen to play it.
Right. Sure.
And then I started playing these songs with my band. Like, I remember the first song was When I Come Around that we played, and I had a lot of fun playing that song, and we've played it ever since. So I've really enjoyed playing this type of music, and now this is some genres that I prefer to listen to.
Nice. What's interesting, Jared, is one, what I'm picking up, and I've interviewed a lot of artists from up and comings to some pretty celebrity types. And I'm amazed and fascinated about encouragement and discouragement And, I used to ask the questions, oh, do you come from a musical family, that sort of thing. And it's really 50-50. Some, hey, dad was a drummer, or, there was guitar in the house that the uncle had, and they jumped into that. So I think that's interesting. But I also, and I'm just going to relate a story. When I was a young kid, 21, working in a deli, there was a band called The Doors, Jim Morrison, and Guy Ritchie would play this album called Soft Parade forever, like hours upon hours. And I hate this effing song. And then guess what? It kind of grows on you. And then when you get deep into the music, you get to appreciate all the nuances through that. Anyway, enough of my pontificating. Jacob, tell me about your influences.
So, ever since I was like a little kid, my mom and dad exposed me to like a bunch of different kinds of music to see what I would like. Like, my father particularly likes jam bands like Fish and Grateful Dead.
I like your father already. All right, good.
So when I was younger, because of that, my main influence, which made me want to start learning bass, was Mike, who's the bassist of Fish.
Yep.
At first, and then after that, as I evolved over the years and I started to get exposed to more music, I started listening to metal and heavy metal bands like Metallica or like Iron Maiden. Right. And then over the years, I've took like a lot more inspiration from them and their like cool bass lines and transitions from their bass lines.
Nice. I actually interviewed two bassists, one recently, a guy named John Cardone. Great, interesting story, you guys. And by the way, I want to ask the audience, hey, chime in. Tell me what you think about music in general, if you got any insights on this. But anyway, I had interviewed two great bassists, a guy named David Marsh, who's a local bass player out in Suffolk County, who plays with Miles to Dayton, among other bands, great guy, and a guy named John Cardone. So check that out if you're a bass player. I think you'll find some interesting insights. Hey, I got to throw this question out to the group. When did you guys tell me about the experience of the first time as Jawbone playing for an audience per se? Who wants to pick up on that?
Our first ever show was when we played our local library.
Okay.
And we had always heard of the kids at our school doing like covers, the occasional, Taylor Swift here and there, or like,
Right.
And I thought about this for a little bit, and I was like, what's stopping me from writing my own song and bringing it to the band? And I wrote a song about some stuff that was going on in my life. We wrote a song called Aftermath.
Okay.
And our first ever show, we played it. And we noticed that a lot of people, were like, oh my, these kids, they're so young, but they write songs like this. And most kids, that were our age would write about like, something cool, like
right.
just something upbeat. And I wrote about like heartbreak and stuff like that.
Nice.
It seemed like some people were surprised, or some people thought it was a little bit cool.
Nice. You know what's interesting to me is at your guys' age, okay, one, there's really nothing stopping you. One, you've got great energy. You've got insights on the world that's around you. And I've heard that, by the way, before. They used to say that about Bob Dylan. I don't know if you saw the movie A Complete Unknown. But Bob Dylan was like 19 years old when he came to New York City. And they were like, how can this guy write songs about some things that are so deep and that come to him? Nothing should hold you back from doing that. And the other thing I picked up on, JP, you being a grunge and punk band, punch. That's a new term, a punch band. But I've always looked at grunge and heavy metal to a certain extent as having that angst, that, a way that you can, what, I'm freaking frustrated about this, and I'm going to sing or write about it, and I'm going to take that energy out, and I don't care what you think type attitude. Anybody want to chime in on that thought about angst and grunge and punk?
I have to say, I do think that as a band, we've each picked a few songs to play as a cover,
Right?
and some of us even chose to play one of the songs that we've written as one of our choices. And I've noticed over time that we play have something to do with what we like. Like I know Jacob wrote Co-Effect, and that's more heavy metal compared to grunge or punk like Green Day. And I have to say, I'm not surprised that Jacob wrote a song like that because that's the type of music he listens to, and that's the type of music he wants to play.
Right. And you bring up an interesting point that in these different genres, even when you look at Green Day, besides the heavy stuff that they play, they do ballads as well. So there is that kind of intertwining. Hey, let's do this, guys. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I really want to talk about your songwriting process. You seem to be a collaborative group of guys and where you see yourselves going in the very near future. Hey, everybody, stick with us. We'll be right back with Jawbone.
Are you ready for the ultimate podcasting adventure? The Long Island Sound podcast offers you not one, but two ways to engage with our captivating content. Tune in to our audio podcast on your favorite platform and let your imagination paint vivid pictures of Long Island stories. Or if you're craving a visual feast, catch our video podcast on Spotify and on the Long Island Sound YouTube channel. Double the options, double the excitement.
Hey, everybody, we're back with Jawbone, young group of guys who categorize themselves as punk and grunge. But JP, I want to ask you this. We discussed offline. Tell me about, since you're a collaborative group, how you developed the muse, how you developed the song Aftermath, and kind of tell me, guys, your influence on that song. JP, take it away.
So Aftermath was originally kind of more of like a passion project, if you will, for me.
Okay.
I wrote it way before I was in Jawbone. I never thought I would say anything because I was just a kid who was a little bit sad about it and just needed to get my feelings out there. Aftermath, can I explain what it's like about really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Aftermath was like about when I was in school. I liked a girl and I told her, and like she didn't feel the same. Stuff like wasn't reciprocated, and it kind of just turned into like a mess. So I was like, if there was a way for me to talk about this without sounding just like sad, I might as well, put it on paper. And I was like,
Oh, good.
I'm playing the guitar. I'm like, am I really writing a song about this right now? And that's kind of how Aftermath came to be. And then a few weeks later, I joined Jawbone, and we learned When I Come Around, and then we started like a cover rotation, and it was my turn, and I was like, oh, let's do a cover of, the song. And then when we were doing it, we weren't really feeling it, so I was like, why don't we try an original song? And that's how it came to be. People liked how the chorus sounded. It was more or less like, it was like I was learning the song, and it was more of the song was learning me.
Oh, cool. Interesting insights. All right, so somebody pick it up. Tell me about different influences on that song and what you brought to the party.
Well, as JP said,
This is Jared, by the way.
yeah, I'm Jared. As JP said, he wrote the song before Jawbone. And when he brought it to our band, we all put pieces of us into that song. Like, JP put a lot into that. He thinks that song is a lot to him. And then we all collectively put our work into that and created our parts, and we had a feeling that it would turn out well, and it did.
How about John? How about the guitar parts? Talk to me about that in that song.
JP came up with the original guitar parts, and I think you might want to ask him about it more than me because he's the one who originally wrote them
All right.
for that song.
All right.
I mean, there's other
JP,
songs where I've written some stuff.
If you were to ask John about guitar parts, it would probably be for any other song on the EP.
that
Yeah.
figures, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, John. So JP, fill us in on the guitar parts for that song, and then we'll jump to Jacob on it as well.
With the guitar parts for that song, it felt like a lot of it was just me trying to make it pop, you know?
Okay.
Everybody has that one song where you hear a chord progression, or like the song American Idiot. You always remember the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Right. Yep. The lead in the hook.
Yeah. And I tried to make a chord progression that would really, stick in people's minds. I'd rather people not know the verses but remember that chorus than not remember the
Okay.
song.
Gotcha. So you're focused on the hook per se, whether that hook in a song is a bass line or a drum part or a guitar part. That was your focus to I guess draw people into it, right?
Talking about like Aftermath first, so because it was my first original that I had played, it was also my I wanted to try something new with the bass part, so I started what I would do now as for most of our originals, which is using a lot of octaves for the bass parts. Like, so if you look at like all of our songs and on the bass parts, I always use like all the verses usually have octaves and then transitions with them. And then for co-effect, it was mainly, I knew JP wanted to do an album based on Aftermath, so I tried to make it so co-effect was like the song that took place in the timeline of Aftermath just afterwards. Yeah, so basically, when I wrote it, I was just kind of thinking about Aftermath, and then I made the bass part kind of on like I tried to make it sound very heavy metalish, like Jared said, and I tried to connect it with kind of the same tone as Aftermath in terms of the note.
JP here. Aftermath was originally gonna be like a track on a concept record that we had like an idea about.
Okay.
You know what a concept record is?
Yeah, sure do.
Record with a story.
Yep.
And a lot of that kind of just fell apart over the course of our band's lifetime. Not that we would never do something like that. It's just we're not really doing it right now.
It's timing. Timing's everything.
But we liked the song, so we decided to keep it. And you know how some songs tell a story. This song tells its own story, kinda.
It's interesting. You talked about EPs and you talked about albums, and what I find interesting is, there'll be artists that are putting out EPs for a couple of reasons. One, it's economical to do. You do three songs, and you're kind of throwing it out every few months or whatever, and keeping your audience engaged. Then you go to old school guys, and their concept is never to do an EP, but to do a full album where, the thread from one song to another, the placement of the songs are really so important. But I want to ask you guys this, so you've put this song together. How do you lay down the tracks? Are you going to a studio to do it? Are you doing it yourselves? What's your process?
I feel like JP speaking.
Thanks, JP.
Our music school has a studio in it, and we are like teacher for our band, because we do band practice there every Saturday.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Our teacher there is also a music engineer. So we placed third in our battle of the bands.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we won 3 hours of recording time at their studio. So we used that time to record Aftermath. And the thing with their recording time is when you have it, you have a technician help with you. And our technician also happened to be our guitar teacher. And they're really nice. And they helped us out a lot when it comes to how we recorded it. And they mixed it for us. And it was all just very involved, because they would always ask. I take music production lessons with them, and they helped me stay involved with it. And they would keep me up to pace with how the mixing was getting done. And I got to watch it closely. And if there was a part that I didn't like, I would be like, hey, maybe we could change this a little bit.
Right. What's so interesting, and I learned this from my guitar teacher, Mike Nugent. Mike lays down his own tracks, got his home studio, and every time I went over for a lesson, he'd be like, "Oh, check this out. I want you to hear this, and this is how he did this, and this is how I layered that, and that sort of thing." And then what surprised me was, even though he laid down all the tracks, I'm thinking, okay, it's done. Not the case. He would then take it and send it off to another guy, Professor Kevin Kelly, who did the first Blondie album, by the way. And then Kevin gets his ears and his hands on it, and he balances everything out. And it's just having that expertise in on stuff can really make a song really kind of punched and made for the ears, so to speak. So that's cool that you have that resource to you. But I'm going to throw another question out. And maybe tell me, is this a challenge for you guys to get gigs and where you play? Because you're so young that people might say, I don't know if I want to take a chance on these guys. Anybody want to chime in on that?
I know that JP, I don't know how, but he's able to get us a lot of gigs, unlike the rest of us. I mean, the rest of us have tried. If we find something, we'll share it with the rest of the band. But I know JP in general has given a lot of gigs whenever he hosts any party or anything.
Right.
He will try and get us into it. I think that when we have festivals in Port Washington, like for example, the Italian Festival,
Right.
if any of those stuff go on and any of us have an idea of how to get us in there, we will try and get into things where the town is going to be there celebrating and also watching our performances.
The big challenge is so interesting in that and I'll just talk generationally. Guys my age who are playing don't have big social media presence. Okay. People your age on ups, do the social media work per se, whether they're playing in front of a camera or putting things up on Instagram, that sort of thing. I have heard in the conversations I had, what brought success to a lot of full-time musicians is doing open mics and going in is sometimes a little difficult as a band to go in as a open mic, but that's where that networking really kind of played a role. And if there's anything I can encourage you to do, if you're not doing it already, is record yourself like we're doing here, visually, so people can go, oh, those guys are cool. And it kind of broadens your audience. And that's really the whole goal. How do you get in front of more people to do that? And then once that steamroller starts picking up speed, then you have something to point to when somebody says, all right, I'll give you a chance, but show me what you've played, and then you could have a digital bank of some information. So it's an interesting play. Where do you guys, anybody can take this? I feel like I got to talk to John for some reason. Should I put John on the spot, guys? Yeah, why not? Right? John, where do you see maybe yourself? Where do you see yourself in the next year, 2 years?
Couple of possibilities. Either way, obviously, I'm gonna have to finish up school and stuff, but I see myself, one way it could be is, me finishing up high school and maybe going to college for music. The other way I see it going is if by any luck Jawbone becomes somehow if that happens, I don't know, I had a kind of a deal with one of my parents where if Jawbone takes off, I could tour for a year, but then I have to go to college.
Right.
That's kind of the deal I had.
Yeah. It's always the parents, they're looking out for your best interests and they know that the music industry is so high risk and there's so, look at Spotify. I think 100,000 songs go up on Spotify, new songs every day. It's like crazy, but I think if you have, and you mentioned this, JP, you talked about passion. If you have passion for something, you're willing to put in the 10,000 hours to make you really good at it. That's part of it. Part of it is luck. I think another aspect of it is exposure and talking to everybody you know about it and making those connections, because you never know where that one connection is going to, lead you into something else. And by the way, John, I have talked to artists who were your age who went on tour, and I'm trying to remember who it was, at 18. His parents said, I'm like, your parents let you go on tour for a year around the United States? Yeah, they did. They trusted him, and he was in good company, people looking out for him. So that's pretty cool. Tell me, so you've got Aftermath out. Now you're working on an album, I would assume, or you're working on an EP. What are you working on next, and when can we expect that to hit?
We're working on publishing the EP. We have all the songs written and we all know them. We're just working on practicing them to be able to do it without any mistakes, hopefully, so then we could publish the whole thing when we can.
Hey, and you probably can make it in time. I'll make a quick suggestion for you, because I just did this for my friends. Is you familiar with NPR's Tiny Desk Contest? All right, NPR is National Public Radio, all across the United States, different stations. They have a Tiny Desk concert series. Look it up on YouTube. So you can join that contest. It just has to be an original song that's not published. So you could take one of your songs. You have to have a tiny desk in the video and record yourselves. Has to be less than 10 minutes, which shouldn't be a problem. And you never know. And that's what we did with Mike Nugent and the Blue Moon Band. We did his song. We had a lot of fun. We did it. We were fortunate enough to do it in Distillery in East Northport. We had a blast. You can find it, by the way, guys, on the YouTube channel. But that might be another way to get exposure out there, So, and I don't know why I'm giving you all these ideas, but it's tell everybody what you do, and because you never know where one thing's gonna lead to another. So, hey guys, I really want to thank you. Unless there's something else we didn't cover, I really want to thank you for being JP. Is that you?
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I just wanted to ask if you had any questions regarding the EP in general.
Yeah.
Right now we're trying to.
Tell me more about the EP. Yeah, please.
The EP is our first piece of media with more than one song on it that we're putting out. It had many different iterations, and it was kind of troubling to try and decide on a name for it.
Okay.
We landed on the name Lockjaw.
All right.
It was between Lockjaw being self-titled, and I feel like the EP really symbolizes us as a group, because it's more of a mix of everything we wanted to accomplish as a band.
Nice.
5 songs. Can I tell you the track list?
Yeah, no. Hey, it's all about promotion, brother. Tell us all about it. Tell us if you have a date, when you expect it to go out. Is it going to, going to put it up on Spotify? When you say it's going to be released, give me some details of your vision of releasing this EP.
Yeah. I go through a distributor that puts it on almost every platform.
Like CD Baby or something like that?
I use a platform called DistroKid.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm familiar.
And we, all 5 new songs, well, except Aftermath, because that's on it, but the track listing is a song called Question, Co-Effect, Aftermath, Clarity, and When It's Time. That was really hard for me to memorize. And I feel like a lot of those songs come from us as a group, If there was one song that we'd appreciate the most out of all of them, it would be the song Question. And we actually just performed that for music school the night we announced the EP, which was, how long ago was that, guys? Was that a
few weeks ago?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I jump in and maybe explain a little bit about Question?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So I remember when we first thought of the idea of Question, I was actually at camp and I thought of an idea of that type of song. I had no experience in writing any songs or any of that. So I actually sent a letter to JP, given I didn't have my phone there.
Good.
And I didn't get an answer, but I waited till I came home and I talked to him about it. And he said that he liked the idea that I explained to him, but he wanted to we wanted to make an actual song out of it. Well,
Okay.
that's what we planned to do, but we wanted to actually get the process going. So one day JP called me and he was like, I have a perfect riff or rhythm for this song that I think that you would really like. And I was like, I listened to it and I liked it. So we kind of started the process and we collectively shared it with the band and we started it. And that's how it came together.
It's it's amazing. And this is one of the things that a lot of people are curious about. And it's called developing the muse. When the muse strikes you, believe it or not, Jared, you were fortunate not to have your phone and write something down in a letter to kind of memorialize it and then go and talk to JP about it. But what's so interesting is the different artists that I've asked this question from, they said, when the muse strikes us, we jump right into it because you know what? We got to do it now while it's hitting us, because if we put it off, from that inspiration, we're going to be a different person with different experiences, different emotions than what we're hearing right now. So kudos to you guys to do that. And I'm really kind of, I admire the fact that you're taking a collaborative effort and bringing things to each other. That's going to make for a solid band, to be honest with you. Keep on doing that and put it into regular practice. When do you guys expect to have that EP published?
Hopefully by the end of the summer, maybe even earlier.
All right, so we're shooting for like September, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little earlier if we can.
Got you.
Can I just say something that was expressing
please do.
on your idea of like more when you give your music to somebody and they send it to somebody else to, hear it?
Right.
Something that I've been told is that you could listen to a song 1,000,000 times and it will always sound different to somebody else's ears.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I remember early on in my interview process, I used to ask people, what does that song mean? I don't ask that question anymore for many reasons. One, that you may have had the inspiration for the meaning behind a song, but now as you deliver it out to the audience, it can mean different things to different people. And that's really the beauty of the music. In fact, the guy from Green Day on this Fire Aid thing was, hey, they did this ballad. I forgot the title of the ballad. And he said, when I wrote it, I had a different perspective about this 15 years ago, but it's so perfect for what we're doing today. And that's why the ambiguity of what a song means can really be beautiful. And it can be really a healing process for people, with the devastating fires. Or, I think it's a healing process too. You know what? When I listen to a song and, JP, it's a song about heartbreak, it may speak to me and I can get that connection with you and say, wow, somebody else went through what I'm going through right now. And it can be really healing. And that's what I think is so admirable about you guys being musicians on whatever direction you take this in. I want to leave on this note. I looked up the word jawbone and where it is in the Bible and stuff like that. And there is a point where the guy takes the jawbone of a donkey and slays a bunch of people with it. And I'm thinking about you guys and your future. And I'm sure your music is going to slay a lot of people. I really appreciate you spending time with me. And you know what? We never know how much time we have on this earth. The fact that we spent over an hour together and you gave me your thoughts and your impressions and you were transparent about the process. Keep on being transparent and keep on writing and playing music. All right. Be well, guys. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.